A while ago, the Glare was doing a live stream and BXBeastBoy showed up to not only support but to listen for information that he did not know already. Here's a clip of that.
As much, I'm gonna address this real quick. BX is my boy, dude. That's my man right there. So tonight, because this is an issue that he has expressed to me that he does not feel comfortable discussing this particular case. Out of respect for him, I'm gonna fly solo on this. I mean, I'll bring anybody else on that wants to come up, but I'm not inviting BXBeastBoy up here for this particular subject because it's not it's something he has expressed out loud that he does not feel that he agrees we really talk about, but it's something I've been talking about, and yeah, I'm gonna keep talking about it, but I do respect how other people feel about it. Yeah, appreciate that, man. Appreciate that.
The next day, while BXBeastBoy was doing the exact same thing, getting information and supporting someone who he interviewed previously, he was challenged to a debate randomly, somewhat ambushed. They didn't know that Garfield was on deck at all times, all day, every day, twice on Saturdays. So after he was demolished from me coming out, he decided that this would be an appropriate time to do the exact opposite of what he said in the live stream the day before. Here it is.
Well, I know that you've had some prior commentary on if I should have or shouldn't have. And you know what? I can't argue with you because under most normal circumstances, nobody would ever, bring this type of stuff out public. But once it's there, you certainly, if it has to be, once it's public, you want to be working with somebody that you trust, who has the context of the situation, who will handle details with care, because it is a delicate issue and a delicate topic. And we've just always been really comfortable. Of course, man. Yeah.
If you had the chance to do that a different way, like maybe blurring out the face, would you? Now seeing it from the perspective of watching some of it play out, would you from the beginning have blurred out the face?
Can you repeat the first part of your question? You broke up.
Blurred out the face. Would you have blurred out the face?
Blurred out the face.
Now, knowing what you know now and going through everything, would you have handled it differently, if anything?
I don't know. Look, well, first off, I don't regret doing it the way I did it because it allowed us to secure her safety. And that was, her protection really, it took precedence over the privacy topics. Honestly, I don't think that it would have gone out quite as far and as fast if people didn't have a person to connect to in a way. And you got to remember though, Beast Boy too, this wasn't, when this started, it was a private Facebook group and it was a private GoFundMe. Like it wasn't set up and designed to go out as far as it went. And it got, ignorant of us, but we didn't really think about it slipping out of that private Facebook group because it was an unlisted link. And golly, man, like 2 days later, it had already hit like 89 million views on TikTok. It went out of control. It was gone. And so then it wasn't so much shit, should I have done that or not? It was okay, well, what do we do now? And the fact is that the situation got much more complex after that. And once we were there, we were there. And I don't know. I don't like what's going on now. I don't know if it would have changed though. I don't know.
You don't think it would have gone different if,
man,
because I can say like you in your position, I can understand you want to get it out. But from the commentators that covered the story who also shared the image and didn't blur out the face, you don't think that they should have blurred the face as well?
I guess I'd never really felt like I would hold other people to different expectations than I had held myself necessarily. Although I saw that certain media organizations had different protocol. For instance, like Daily Mail, Daily Mail like just showed up at the property where we live. Like we didn't call them; they just showed up. And my parents, of course, you know, being who they are, they're just like, "Yeah, come on in. Would you like something to drink?" And they sat down. They talked to him for like 3 hours before we even got back to the property. And but they have a, you know, they blur faces and they have pretty strict codes with all that stuff.
Okay.
So
That's what, all right, because they, like you said, they're bigger companies. They have experience with handling issues like this. I think that a lot of
yeah,
YouTubers, they didn't think with the same thought of that pattern. I think that a lot
yeah,
of YouTubers actually tried to exploit you in this situation and didn't blur out the face because it would get more views. And to me, that's the only thing I felt like that was disgusting to me on their behalf, like on their part.
I guess I didn't
And
really think that it was that. Um, Even now, I don't really assume that people like think through it that much about, well, if I don't blur the face, then I'm gonna get more views or more hits. I just
I agree.
I like to assume that people, if they're, especially in this situation that we're in, if they were spreading awareness, they were trying to really help make sure that Sophie was safe and secure, and the boys as well, for that matter. But it's you know, I guess I just didn't read into the intention behind that. I'm sure it might happen, but I don't. I, j- I try to assume the best, man.
In all honesty, in your situation, I don't expect you to, with that going on, that should be the last thought. Like
Yeah,
the things that I'm thinking about is from a different perspective of me seeing it as someone
sure.
who reports stories and
Yeah,
look at
yeah,
it.
of
So
course.
I've
Hey,
always seen it as the face should be blurred out. I think that her
Yeah, I mean,
privacy.
and
hey,
look,
hey, Beast Boy, can I
Yes,
ask
you
you a
kind of
question?
hold people accountable. No,
of
but
course.
sorry, but
So
I
Beast
want
Boy,
to say something.
did you watch the video when it came out?
Yes.
What's your opinion on the video?
What do you mean? What's my opinion on the video?
Opinion.
What did
Oh,
you
my,
get out of
yeah,
it?
absolutely. With
Do you-
fear, I was extremely worried. Like there's a whole like the average I don't think no one can watch that video and not feel the things that we all felt. We were all worried and concerned and we wanted to know for her well-being. But I'm trying to see what you were leading to with this.
no, I'm just asking an honest question. What is your opinion on? Because we've never actually talked about that, and now that we have Michael on,
Okay.
I and I know that you've stated
No,
things
but
of,
I think,
and
but
you're being very candid about it. Like you're worried about whether or not Sophie's face should have been blurred out or whatnot.
and
But
Because
I
I
actually
think ahead.
appreciate,
That's just me.
and
and
that's
I
fair.
appreciate
And
this that pushback though too.
right,
Well,
no,
just so you know, like I think what Beast Boy
I
does,
do
like you were
too.
talking
I
about,
do too.
what's your mission and what you do online. I think he holds people accountable to certain levels of kind of decency. And Nasty Fam is, you know, yes, it's funny and it's catchy, but truly it comes down to, hey, are you holding yourself accountable for common decency to other people? And he
Right,
did that early on in this game. I remember listening to one of the videos, like, dude, this dude's super funny. But
right.
you were like, look, nobody can argue that that video when it came out, it like hit people in different ways, and it did.
It
Um,
did.
and look, you know, when I shared it, it was kind of a desperate last moment. I'm like, why the hell won't anybody listen to her? And this is all I have left. Literally, all I had left was this video. And I mean, thank God that people responded, because if not, there was no way we were moving forward to get her into a safe situation. But you know, Beast Boy, he goes out and yeah, he might be, you know, saying this, that, and the other about people, but you know, holding people accountable to common decency, like these things I don't even think about, right? I wasn't in a position to be worried about whether or not anybody was going to blur a face or anything. I was just worried about, is the word going to get out enough so that enough people will stand up and demand that there's some justice in this situation, or that there's the ability to stand up and do something about it. So I
Mhm.
appreciate that. I really do. So I didn't mean to
That's real.
define your mission, Beast Boy, but I truly, like, based on what I've listened to of you, I feel like you do hold people accountable.
Yeah,
So
that's all I do.
Beast Boy, do you just you're not a psychiatrist, you're not a mental health professional in any way, shape, or form, but when you watch that video, what I guess I'm just gonna straight up ask you, do you believe Sophie?
Yeah, I cannot answer that because I don't
Wow.
know. I can say that in the video, from what I've seen, it caused a reaction from me. But you're asking me something that I don't know enough information about.
Fair enough. No, what I'm saying, what do you?
I can't go based off of just I can't.
Okay.
Like, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an investigator. Like, I would need to
Neither
know
am I.
more. I cannot go based off of for just the video from the clip.
Yeah. Well, look, Beast Boy, you got an objective mind, and I think
Right.
that's cool. That's important. I don't think that
basically
the
your answer is that you that's not enough to make you decide one way or the other. I get that.
Yes.
And you know what? And I want to be clear about this, Will, because you bring it up. I never asked anybody to just full-heartedly just say, well, without a shadow of a doubt, you just got to believe it, like that. It was more, hey, isn't that enough for people to pause and fucking let that child like take the time necessary to, like, let's figure out what's going on, instead of, hey, she's screaming that there's something wrong, and I'm being forced to turn her over back into the care of people that she is obviously not wanting to go to. Why isn't that outcry enough for us to just take pause?
Right.
You know I mean?
Right.
And that's
now I want to be clear that even when I watched it, because I did a reaction video on it when I did this, when I started this, I was just merely my channel. I was doing a reaction video on it, and I did say, yes, I believe Sophie, but I'm not an idiot either. And I'm going to go, well, okay, I'm seeing the child and I'm seeing her react a certain way, and I'm seeing her, but could she have been coached? Is there this? Is there that? What about this? What about that? So after I reacted to the video live, I analyzed it as much as I possibly could. And I'm not a mental health expert in the slightest bit. But then, Michael, you and I ended up talking. Mm-hmm. And then you and Courtney started sharing information with me. Yeah. And let me in on certain things that I was like, holy shit. And I'm talking about proof. I'm not talking about, I'm not talking about just theories here and just conversation. I was getting proof of things that merit an investigation that is not taking place.
Yeah.
Investigation should be taking place. I don't think anyone would disagree with that.
Yeah, this is part of this whole situation that for me is completely unresolved still, and right. I'm not quite. I know you were saying that I don't express anger very loudly and stuff, but I have to collect myself in these situations. Most of the time there are children around me. If I let
these are praises in your practices of managing your anger. Trust me, I'm not making fun of you.
Meditation.
I mean, I'm making jokes, but
dude, I'm livid.
I'm livid. I'm furious to do this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm furious inside my soul, man, because this isn't the expectation that I have of our justice system. And I think that a lot of people in this country right now are putting a close eye on how that works together. And my expectation would be that law enforcement is going to do everything they can to step up to the plate and do the very best and show that they have objective processes, that they're going to follow kind of a code of conduct, and they're going to certainly make sure that issues dealing with children are handled delicately, and I just didn't feel like that happened. It still hasn't happened.
Beast Boy, I'm telling you right now, if you knew the things that I know,
that's my point. I don't.
This is right. Fair enough. But I'm hoping that you will take my character I mean, I feel like you and we get each other, and this is something I just got to ask you to take my word on for now, just for now. And I've seen evidence that makes me go, I'm not shutting up about this, and these people need to pay for it. And what's happening with Michael right now is it's like being in an episode of The Twilight Zone. It's a nightmare. It's a fucking nightmare.
It keeps coming up, man. The Twilight Zone. It feels like the Twilight Zone.
The people that he's counting on the most, the people that he's supposed to, people that he pays taxes so that they are his civil servants to get justice for someone that he knows deserves justice, they're not getting it. And he's watching them make excuses to his face and use their power to it's fucking crazy.
And look, I'm not the only one in this country experiencing this either, and that's what I think that's where this has gotten incredibly real, and for me personally has expanded far beyond our own personal circumstances. Is that I have heard from so many parents who have gone through just atrocious situations when it comes to trying to protect their children, and I've heard from so many people who have stayed quiet for 20 or 30 years because, when they were younger, they tried to tell somebody and nobody did anything about it. And I'm just kind of, I don't know, look, guys, like we live in a world that is so divided. It is so divided, and they find every reason to divide us. Why is it that we can't just rally around this one thing, which is innocent children deserve to be protected and they should be heard? And if we're not going to put the mechanisms in place to make that possible for kids, we might as well just kiss our society goodbye because we're ruining the future of our country. And
we're ruining the future of our planet.
Well, true. I mean, we can control though. I mean, we are, yes, the world is one as well, but our country, our legislative processes that we have here, our ability to vocalize and speak up is here, and hopefully the world follows suit.
And and something Jamie said on the live that she was on with Annie and you and Courtney, and something that she said resonated with me so much. And she said that the way that changes happen is by the people demanding it.
Yeah.
That's why this is important. That's why me doing these live streams are important. That's why Annie doing what she has done is important. So this is we need to shake the cages, man. Yeah,
it's a great opportunity to reevaluate. I'd say as a whole, and say, okay, how do we do this going forward? What are some mechanisms we can put in place? Yeah, educate the public too. I mean, a lot of people they don't know about this because it's such an uncomfortable topic that, quite frankly, it just never gets spoken about. I mean, because who wants to talk about this? Like, you don't show up to your family's house and say, oh, you know what? Let's have a discussion about essay of children this evening. Like this doesn't happen, right? People don't engage in this dialogue, and unfortunately, with the lack of dialogue, you end up lacking solutions. And so, if there's a blessing that has been the kind of the result of all this, I think it is that fortunately it spurred some dialogue. Fortunately, it brought some people together that hadn't spoken up previously. Now maybe they have a peer group they can depend on, and we're seeing people go out and engage in getting different degrees now because they were inspired, or becoming CASA representatives, like engaging in the programs themselves. And I think there's some wonderful people that are involved in the work of trying to help children, but perhaps they're also working in systems that are broken or aren't fully funded in ways to make them successful. I've heard so many times that people who work in the organizations like Child Protective Services and I know that there's a lot of theories about whether they're good or bad. It's not about a judgment there, but from what I've experienced is that there's some really great people that work for them, and they're incredibly overburdened. Their caseloads are huge.
I was lucky. I was a kid in the system. Yeah. For a brief period of time, little chunk of my childhood there, but I amazing people came into my life.
That's awesome.
And I was in the system. I was in the system.
There's some good souls that work in that system because they did it because they love kids and they want to protect kids. But you can't tell me, just like a teacher who has 40 children in their class or 35 kids in their class, they're not going to be as effective as a teacher who has 10 or 15, right? And so this is what I think the other problem is that we have underfunded these very vital programs in this country. and I, we need more people doing it so that they can give the proper attention and care to the different cases that pop up, and the children just don't slip through the cracks. That we're actually making sure that the adequate resources are available. That's how I
They're
feel
they're
about it.
they're growing up to be cops. They're growing up to be psychiatrists. This guy that I've mentioned a few times, this psych guy.
Yeah.
This guy, I feel like he's one of those people that has a chip on his shoulder and then went out and got a degree. That's exactly the vibe I got from him. And Truthy was Truthy, he fucked with this dude. It was pretty fantastic to see one of my buddies fuck with a psychiatrist the way a psychiatrist thinks that they can fuck with other people was fucking beautiful. It was beautiful, Michael. I got to tell you.
Well, I don't know him. I mean, maybe he has questions that are unanswered, or maybe he's heard the many variations of what's occurred in this situation, which could feed a different conclusion. I think that's happening a lot too. People hear some weird stuff.
He didn't even watch Sophie's video enough to like. I mean, if you're educated, right? You pride your whole shtick, your whole hook for your channel is that you're this educated, licensed psychiatrist, right? But you're going to talk about Sophie's case, right? But you're not going to actually analyze the video that went viral, that spawned the whole thing. You're not. I did it. I did it live. It was my first reaction to it. I was like, I haven't even watched this video yet, but everybody's talking about this video, so we're going to watch it.
Yeah, no,
and I watched it, and I did. I don't even know how long the live was, but I kept pausing it, and I kept. Sophie had me like this. Fuck yeah! Tell him.
Yeah. She's.
I was going nuts. And that's the thing is people overlook. That's the thing that people overlook, because I feel like that's a little girl that was genuinely passionate. And she could only be that genuinely passionate about what she was talking about, which was keeping herself safe. She was protecting herself, period.
And
she wasn't even counting on you. She wasn't even going, Dad, tell him. She was like, I'm telling these motherfuckers what I think.
Brother, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, like the way that it's set up, it doesn't really allow for the parent to completely protect the child. Because you have these civil systems that are, there's these orders, and then, even if the child is saying, no, I don't want to go, no, I'm not going to go. She had prior on the 14th of August, I still had to go into court and get told that essentially I withheld her from going, or I held her back from going. And that wasn't the case at all. And so then fast forward to the next time, which is why I was documenting it all, because of course I was told that no, my story of what happened wasn't true the first time. So I'm like, hell, I'm putting the video camera on. I'm just capturing all this. In fact, I didn't even know what she said until well after I'd left the heat of that situation. But documented everything, and so she still didn't want to go. But it's so strange to me that just the simple outcry from the child, just simply them saying, listen, I don't want to go, and this is why, or giving, like actually not like if there's something that's concerning, it should just cause a pause.
Period.
At least a pause.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Evaluate it.
That's my issue is my whole thing this whole time, my friendship with you, everything. My passion for this case is simply that there is a case. Like, open an investigation, do a thorough investigation, look into this. Give me closure. Give me closure. Yeah. I'm in this sense, I'm no different than any of these other people that are crazy and going all over all these Facebook groups and going all over YouTube comments and blah, blah, blah. In that sense, I'm no different than any of them, because I want to know that this little girl got the justice of simply being listened to.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, I think what's overlooked in the situation too, Will, to be quite frank, is that someday Sophie will be 18 years old, and when she is, and
Huh.
if she hasn't gotten justice yet,
She's gonna
I
be a
bet I,
dragon. I'm telling you, she's gonna be a
I'm telling
dragon.
you right now, she will raise hell,
She will
and
breathe fire.
she
Yeah.
will because there's you know, I've never seen anything like that, like what she did. Like she just kind of put her foot down. She like
It's amazing.
demanded her own sovereignty, which was, you know, even
That's
for
what
me, I'm
sold
like,
me.
holy shit.
That's what made me go. That's not coaching. That's not
No, dude,
you can't coach fire. You can't coach
dude,
fire.
brother,
That
if I
girl
could coach
has
like that, then
fire.
I would have a youth camp here. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, it's a no. There's something in her, obviously, that she is a very strong-minded child, but I think what it was really coming down to is that she wasn't being listened to. And I mean, this is you gotta. Here's the context. Leading up to that day, she had already given outcries to law enforcement, to Child Protective Services. Like she had described what was going on and why it was a problem, and nobody could really intervene. And that's the weirdest part about all this. Nobody did anything about it.
And then there's the phone call that Annie played on her live stream when she had your attorneys on and you and Courtney.
Oh my God, yeah, that's a whole different.
Well,
Oh my
right.
God, yeah.
Well, I mean, what does that tell you? That tells me that's either corruption or blatant negligence. But this man went out of his way to call someone in another jurisdiction while Sophie was having her essay exam. I mean, why is this not the?
I mean,
Why
you
is
want to go
this
down
not
this route? I don't even know if Beast Boy knows what that one's about. So
Beast Boy probably doesn't.
No, inform me if you can.
Yeah, I think Beast Boy's silence is he's kind of
I'm listening.
He's hearing things that he's never heard before regarding this case.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
So let's get in. We'll just go into it real quick. So are you familiar with what's called a SANE exam? Or have you ever heard of this before?
No.
And look, I'm gonna just be straight up. I'm not an expert in these topics. Okay, so and this is kind of one of the things. If you get into a situation like this and your child's going through something, you're kind of expected to know a lot of stuff that there's no way you would have ever been educated on ahead of time. So okay, but essentially, SANE exam is and I don't think I can say it without getting your channel like bleep, but an essay, like nurse examination. So they're
okay.
evaluating
Yes,
to
yes.
see. Yeah. Okay. So it's from what I understand, it contains multiple parts. One is an interview portion, a forensic interview. The other part is a physical examination portion, and it's not something that you just go into a doctor's office or a hospital and say, "Hey, I'm here to have a SANE exam done on my kid."
And I want
it
to
doesn't
say,
work like that. Yeah.
I had an issue with my son, and I don't mean to cut you off, Michael. I'm going to let you continue, but just to reiterate the point, because you were saying there's a process here, and what my son didn't go through an SA situation, but it was an abuse situation, and he had to have a forensic interview done. It was a hell of a process.
Yeah, actually, so she actually had a forensic
just to give you an idea.
Done.
Just to give you an idea.
She had a forensic interview done the night of the 18th, after the video that you're talking about, when her ankle got all pulled and stuff. They brought in a forensic nurse that night too, and had conversations with her. But that was about physical abuse. But so fast forward early September, Beast Boy, my wife had brought Sophie into the hospital after some feminine complaints. I guess I don't want to get too into the medical details of it all, but
I got you.
they were enough that my wife was very concerned for. And she brought her into the local hospital. The nurse evaluated her, did their formal processes that they go through to make a decision. And a SANE nurse was called. To get a SANE exam done, law enforcement is engaged. They have to approve it because it's a part of a criminal investigation. And we have, because the lawyers that we're working with are awesome, they have subpoenaed everything. Like, we have a lot of information, and some of that information is the actual body cam footage from that when the police officer came into the hospital, which, seriously, kudos to Seguin PD, because they did an awesome job. Very objective. They went in, talked to the nurse, they talked to the child advocate, they talked to my daughter and my wife. They went through the process of kind of figuring out what's going on, and then because the allegation was in another city, they were calling Frisco PD to ask for the approval, and they get on the phone with the dispatcher, they get transferred to a corporal. Once they hear who it is, they say, oh, there's somebody else you need to talk to. And so they sit there for like 40 minutes probably waiting, and finally a corporal with our local PD says, you know what, we're just going to approve this, because we can't just keep everybody waiting here, like, and we'll take the hit if there's some problem down the road, but that's the right thing to do, so to speak. So they do the approval, they hand it off, it's like 9 p.m, they leave, and about a half an hour later they get a call from a higher level person in Frisco PD, who spends about the next 11 minutes completely defaming my character and trying to convince these officers not to approve the exam on the basis that one of his arguments is that she had already had 11 of them done, that he had 11 kits already performed, which is preposterous.
What?
In fact, it's so preposterous that if a child had gone through that many and their department had approved that many, I'd say we have some real questions about what the hell that department's doing. But in this case, he was actually trying to blame me for having put her through all these exams, which is completely false. Okay, that never happened. On top of it, he's calling me a mental health consumer that believes I'm Jesus and that started a cult, and he's saying it's all confirmed. He's also expressing an opinion that the children belong with their mother, not me. He's saying, I've caused riots in front of their department, and he said things like that I'm claiming that their officers are raping my daughter, which I had never claimed that. So inserting all this stuff, and here's one of the real concerning things for me is that one of the things that he said is that she always has she's always making the same outcry, saying the same things. And the way he described it, it was the first, I don't know if I should even legally get into the details of what this is, but what he described in the call, how he explained it to the officers in our local area, was something that had never been disclosed prior to her visit in that hospital. And so we're really confused how he knew what she said there and depicted it as something she had said many times, when it's the first time that it had ever been heard. Like, my wife had never heard her say that before. Neither had I. I was back here on the property with the kids, but like, it's shocking to me that how he was able to say that. And the way he said it too, man, like, just I guess as a father, going through the situation, man, it's complicated enough. And obviously this situation got even more complex because of the kind of how it all ended up playing out. But once I hear this call, and I'm like, wow, like an actual like higher up at the department starting to convince these officers not to follow through with an exam that the medical professionals recommended be performed as a part of the criminal investigation. Like, isn't that interfering with a criminal investigation of the essay of a minor or of a child? Like, what the hell's going on? And dude, I was like sick to my stomach after I heard that call. And it's just, I don't know. I guess for me, if that's happening on a very public case, I can't even imagine what's happening in the private cases, the ones that don't ever get out. It's just really worrisome. Yeah, just really, I don't know. And to this day, I haven't heard a single word from the department to give me any explanation as to why that happened. And I feel like as her father, I deserve that.
You do. Like, that is crazy, because the Galera actually did inform me, because I believe that there was an investigation going on. I didn't know that there wasn't, and he actually informed me recently when we did an interview.
Well, sure, for the public, they said that an investigation is going on, but it's not a very good investigation if you're going to interfere in the investigation itself.
Well, they suspended the investigation.
Yeah, they listed it inactive. But the thing is, here's the weird part, guys. I didn't feel like it was like anybody was really doing much about it. right? In the first place. And you kind of get those gut feelings, they're kind of in your stomach, and you're like, you know what, something's off here. I mean, how the hell they have all these 911 calls to the house? Nobody ever gets arrested. They go on a high-speed chase in the highway. There's claims of like guns in the home, and she's buying him guns because he's got a felony background. It's like, what the hell? But nobody gets arrested? Like, something's off. But then fast forward, my child pops positive for cocaine and marijuana, and nobody does anything about it. And in fact, it gets
Wow.
like we're the ones who get kind of like tarnished over it.
And Beast Boy, I showed screenshots somebody sent to me, and I verified these to be very very
This is
accurate.
verified.
Yeah. So I showed screenshots of the person that is accused of that Sophie accuses of SA, and I showed screenshots of him offering cocaine to someone.
They're like Instagram conversations or something like this, right? Yeah, I saw that going around somewhere.
So just prove
so
this person has cocaine and
right, and he also and I also shared his his rap sheet where he had he basically got caught for trafficking drugs.
His rap sheet, that's what's not alarming to me. His past is past. What's alarming is that you're saying that you have
what I'm saying
have screenshots of him saying that he has it.
He has a history of drug use, and one of Michael's kids came back positive.
That's what I'm saying. That's what's important is that you're saying that you got screenshots of him saying he got that on him.
Right. That's my point of pointing that out. Yeah. I have a drug past. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's this isn't
I'm not judging him for that. I'm not judging.
This isn't a judgment thing about all that. But I guess where I saw the gap was that we were doing everything we could to try to make sure the kids were safe. It wasn't to draw the conclusions of who's guilty for what or who did what, but it was more like, hey, let's pull them out for the time being, evaluate what the hell's going on there, and then we can go forward. That's it, right? But that's
not
what
wasn't
happened.
done.
Instead, no. Instead, they informed them that I had went and got a drug test that was positive before the police ever showed up or anybody. So I ended up calling 911 out of Frisco after 12 hours after I had originally called to inform the protective services, the child protective services, about the situation. They start out by trying to tell me that the guy you're referring to, Larry, doesn't have a criminal background. I'm like, well, yes, he does. And so we ended up having to prove it.
And it's just the weirdest they're drug charges.
Yeah. Then I call the police. The police go there. I go to the police department. They treat me like some crazy face, right? They're just not. It's not like caring, like, hey, what's going on? How do we protect the kids? It's more like, what are you doing here with a drug test and checking on your kids? All I had asked, the only thing I asked was, please make sure my kids are safe, because at that point I had heard all those 911 calls and I knew that it was tumultuous in the household. And look, it wasn't to draw conclusions or judgments. It was simply protect the kids. So fine, that whole situation goes on. Fast forward.
I don't know why they want to remove the kids and evaluate. That sounds crazy.
That's it, right? Just
that's the whole point, dude. I love that you just said that because that's what we've been saying this entire time.
Yeah, just give it a little time.
Believe the child, investigate. That's it. That's all we're asking. Investigate. Look into it.
Even when this stuff all went down,
fucked up things going on behind the scenes that you're seeing that there's a reason why it's not being investigated. And we have reason. One day, Michael and his lawyers are going to give me the okay, and I'm going to fucking put that shit out there. I promise you that.
It's either going to, justice will be served or justice. I mean, look, it's going to be dealt with fairly by the processes that are supposedly in place, or you know what, it's only fair that everybody be aware of what the hell's actually going on. And so
I 100% was not aware.
Yeah, so fast forward to when stuff started kind of going on this summer, and finally she she was opening up about her concerns. She was scared about talking about it at first, but then she did, and that's kind of a long story. But it wasn't the experience that you would expect if you were in my shoes. It wasn't this like, hey, let's get on this. She's saying this. Let's go figure out what's going on there. Dig in, and how can we work with you? What other things have you learned? Have there been other conversations that we should be aware of? Nothing. I mean, to the point where we ended up driving all the way there and dropping off a ton of evidence, but just nothing. And we're like, how is this possible? And yet, in the court system, it just kept getting pushed that the kids should just be going back, going back, going back. And, on the first video that went out from the 18th of August, I mean, obviously she does not want to go back. She is afraid. There is a problem there. And the fact is, people can say what they want about, oh, maybe he was alienating or coaching. Well, yeah, I guess what? I didn't coach her mother and their grandmother to go like attack her in the back of a car. And I would say that if somebody was going to approach this peacefully, it could have been done that way. But this is what she was greeted with, is just like this physical, you're coming with us, and like, I don't know, man. It was so out
I
of
did
control.
see them pull her legs. That was wild. I did see
Dude,
that.
that's the way it started, though.
Dude, she was hospitalized after that.
Well, yeah, I had to bring her to the hospital. She was hurt.
Fucking, she was hospitalized after that. Like, the only abuse that took place fucking happened on that video. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying the only abuse that took place. I'm saying, like, as far as everybody, like, I hear these people say, oh, well, Michael's filming it, and I mean, what the fuck else is he gonna do?
The context there, though, is that on my way there, I had gotten a message from her saying, my lawyers informed me to tell you to stay in the car, unlock the car. My mother will come up to the car and get Sophie and transition her. And I'm like, all right, if that's how we're going to do it, that's how we'll do it. So I unlocked the car after we pulled up, and I'm like, I'm videoing this just in case something goes on. And it's like, door open, start tugging.
You announced that you were going to video it.
Oh, dude, I video every single transaction nowadays because there's no choice.
Yeah.
Damn, after all of that, I'm not mad at you for pulling out your camera. Yeah. After all you just explained to me.
You got it.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Whatever to get that investigation started.
I'm trying to tell you, dude.
So then,
I'm trying to tell you this whole time, my man. Like this is knowing what I know about this case, fucking I'm on fire about it.
So and kind of like fast forward, we ended up in this situation after she was forced to get back and she had returned again. That's what some of these like kind of major issues the court brought her in over. She had some issues going on prior, but it wasn't quite as acute as this, I guess you could say. And look, we were just trying to do our due diligence as parents to make sure if there's a problem, she gets medical attention. It is when she gets to the hospital, though, and starts talking to the nurses and the qualified professionals that they make those decisions. So by the time I heard that call where that sergeant was trying to make sure that those Seguin officers and corporals didn't approve that scene exam, I was livid. And the fact that his basis for it was completely patently false about who I am and like what has happened, the context of this situation. I'm like, this is a complete disservice to my daughter. This is an injustice, and this is not the way that children need to be treated in America. Not at all. And so I'm still pissed off about it, but I'm juggling like 100 balls at the same time, trying to make sure that our things are peaceful out here, right? Because I mean, around the kids, you want to keep things chill. You don't want them feeling too much stress. And on the other hand, you have all the legal stuff that is constantly going on in the civil side of it. Well, this is civil and criminal are completely separate. So you could be going into court and arguing for a custody issue. And on the other side, there's a criminal investigation potentially taking place that could influence that civil court case. But if they're screwing it up on the criminal side, you're certainly not going to get any sort of benefit, I guess you would say, for the safety of them on the civil side. And it's incredibly expensive to engage in family court issues. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know.
So that's a little context, man. There are so many more details, but just so you know, like, this is more than anything, it's just simply about, for Christ's sake, a little bit of accountability. Let's do the right thing. And we're just getting attacked right and left, man. We've had CPS showing out up here, like, different investigations they want to do, randos calling in, making complaints. It's stupid.
Dude, I was in this psych guys chat last night while Truthy was debating him or whatever. Dude, his chat was disgusting. It was disgusting. And it was crazy because I felt swarmed by people who were very capable of doxing, very capable of it. Just really shitty behavior, and I was grossed out. And I'm telling you, I mean, look at my fucking chat right now. I don't have those problems. You know what I'm saying? I don't have that shit in here. BXBeastBoy doesn't have that shit in his channel either.
Nah.
Truthy doesn't have that shit in his channel. Dad Challenge Podcast doesn't have that shit in his channel. It's to me, I think that speaks volumes of a creator. And this person, everybody that I've seen speak against you, Michael, they take the same cheap jab about your income or about your what you've chosen to do for a living, and I find that to be reprehensible.
I'm going to give you guys a little bit of context. This is just like a broken record at this point.
Yeah, I know it is. I'm sorry.
No. I think it's important. I want to clarify this. It's important that people understand what happened.
Right.
So I had a pretty successful career in corporate America. I had actually worked in the realm of employment branding. It was a really great experience. There were challenges. Obviously, there's a lot of corporate politics sometimes you deal with and all that. But I had worked in the realm of getting people work, finding people work for a long time since I finished college, essentially, or a little while after I finished college, thereafter. Anyhow, I developed towards the end of my corporate career a condition called trigeminal neuralgia, and it's a facial nerve condition that causes incredibly painful cluster headaches, and it was a real challenge for me. I had to be like straight up, like I've never experienced that type of pain before, and so I started going to doctors trying to figure it out, and it took a bit. I don't think I actually got diagnosed finally until 2013 or 14, after going to like a neurologist, CAT scans, like you name it. I had to go through the test.
You were just having these. You were having these skull splitting headaches.
They are so bad.
And you couldn't figure out why it was happening, and then
they couldn't. So there's a few reasons it can happen. One is brain tumors. The other is tear in your trigeminal nerve sheath or something like this. And then the other one's kind of an unknown category. I had all the tests done. They couldn't figure out what was going on. So I started to realize very quickly that because stress is a trigger for it too. Like super high stress will cause additional problems. Obviously, the relationship with my ex at that time, there was stress in that situation as well. But I don't necessarily blame it on that. But I was in a position where I had gone from high functioning corporate America, killing it, financially it was going well, loving what I did, feeling like I made an impact and a contribution, and to what am I going to do now? I don't even know when I'm going to get one of these headaches. And I'm telling you, when you get one, you're not doing anything. You're going to sit down and you're going to wait there until it's gone. It's incredibly painful. And this isn't like a migraine. This is like you feel like an ice pick's being shoved in your head, or you feel like your teeth are being pulled out of your face.
I've had migraines before, and it feels like someone's taking their thumb and pushing your fucking eye from the back.
It's awful. Yeah, that's a terrible feeling too. Yeah. So here I was at this crossroads where, yes, I could pursue like a disability route, or I could try to find something to do that would be fulfilling and that I was interested in. And I had an old passion for rocks from back when I was in college. One of my best friends introduced me to it, and when we moved to Arizona, I walked in my backyard and I started finding little pieces of chrysocolla, and I was like, maybe I'll just try to start cutting them. I'll learn how to cut stones. And so I learned how to cut stones, and I started making some jewelry, and then I started faceting gemstones, and then eventually I got interested in how I could just crush it so nicely that it would form perfect granulated sand out of any gemstone. And I practiced this craft for years. And it never was something that I was going to make a lot of money on, but it was something that filled a couple of other benefits.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. It was something that I had flexibility to do. So I knew that I could still go back and do it, even if I was having a bad day.
And why isn't anybody talking about the fact that it takes balls to do what you love to do? Who actually really gets to say that they do that?
That's true. But the biggest one, Will, for me, though, was that all also it gave me time to be around my kids, and it gave me time to kind of, you know, I needed the flexibility anyways. But I got to be honest, it is nice to be able to be accessible to your children, to not just miss them growing up because you're working 70, 80 hours a week and always on
Yeah,
airplanes and abroad and all this.
that's what happened with me and my son. I mean,
Yeah.
I was working crazy long hours till 2 a.m. I
Oh,
only
bro,
saw him on my days off, and
I feel you.
I
And
just
look,
couldn't, you know.
and people like to make fun of like our RV setup and stuff, but we have a small business that we had worked very hard to build up to a place. Not that it was huge, but it was it was enough, because I'm actually not interested in having a ton of stuff. I'm just interested in having enough. That's all we needed. But we lived in a nice 3-bedroom place in New Braunfels, Texas. We were there for 4 years before we moved out to the land here. And the only reason that we moved out here when we did was because the COVID lockdowns were happening. And it all happened real fast. Business got a little bit tricky in that time period too. If you remember, all international shipments stopped and all that. So we're like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? So we decided, you know what? Let's just buy an RV and go out there, and then we're gonna build our house. We'll go ahead and build the house out there. This is faster than we thought. So we bought kind of a, it's an okay RV. It's not fancy at all. Trust me, it's not like a luxury living or anything, but it's got a bed. It's got, we put some new carpet in there, had the roof redone, so and so we set that up out here, and then all this stuff starts happening. Like this is in March, so just fast forward, we start having this custody related, costs popping up and all that, and it just like drained us. And the COVID situation hasn't really improved all that much either. But what are you going to do? Just stop like trying to fight for your kids? So,
Right.
but yeah, I know. But I just want to clarify: it's made fun of all the time. But look, I'm doing the best I can to live my life and to be a good dad. And I, yeah, there are times I wake up and I'm like, I really, I wish that things could be different in certain respects. But I also don't resent my life. And I certainly don't think that anybody else should, just based on their income level, because quite frankly, we could all just live in tents and we would get by, right? So this whole judgment based on who makes more money thing is just ridiculous.
It's fucking dumb.
Yeah. Yes, I did get an education. I lived abroad multiple times. I speak Spanish fluently. Like I've done things in my life that I'm proud of. Um, and I ran into a hurdle and I tried to figure it out. And that's all there is to it. So
I mean, yeah, it's people are just trying to overcomplicate it, and I know that. I mean, we've had this conversation, dude. You and I have had this conversation at least 3 times.
I'm gonna send you some gem sand, and then you can see how cool it is.
I mean, and granted, maybe only one other time we actually talked about it live, but I don't understand why it's so hard to understand. Like, you make a living, you provide for your kids. What's the problem? What why is this in question? You've been doing it.
Yeah, no, we do the best we can. We don't have like a massive income or anything. It's not as low as what a person I shall not mention the name of was trying to report in her interview with Truthy, but it's because that's none of her damn business. But at the same time,
right? Like I love how Truthy said. He said that shit then, and then he said it last night with this other fucking idiot. This guy calls himself a psychiatrist.
But like the other thing,
whatever. But he tells him, he's like, dude, I don't have a his W fucking 4s or W2s. I don't have that shit. I don't know. I mean, why are we sitting here trying to pick apart what this guy makes? Why does that have anything?
I was joking. I'll tell you, like on a good car, I was talking to Annie earlier today. We were like, "Hey, everybody thinks we're like fighting. This is too bad. That's not the way this needed to be." Because Annie and I are cool. We're totally cool, and Courtney and her too. We're all good. But I told her, I said, "Well, hey, listen. The next time that we go to work together, if there's something that pops up, you should run like a federal background check on me. That way you'll have it. Like, go ahead. I don't care. I have nothing to hide." They try to pick me apart and dissect me and make me into something I'm not. I mean, my God, dude, last night I listened because I had a bunch of people reaching out. All of a sudden, they're like, "Hey, Michael, you should know they're talking about your mom." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And they're like, "Well, they're saying your mom's a sex predator." I was like, "Are you kidding me?" So I go onto this like program, and what I hear is that Kay, I'll just say it, Kay has given permission to this person on the program to share a story from a person who is apparently a friend of our family about when I lost my virginity and how my mother locked me in a room with another person and made this happen and then went and
And
cleaned
you
up
had to hear
after
this.
us.
You had to hear this from your mom.
No, I fucking had to listen to it on YouTube while these ladies are talking about a false story that's being circulated about my own mother. My mom is amazing. She's an awesome woman. She
What the
never did
fuck?
anything like that to me. I am so blessed with parents who were just awesome, awesome, awesome human beings. I take major offense to them being criticized like that.
And
It's completely uncalled for.
why is it so hard to understand? Like, dude, I never, and I know Michael, you never. We never say anything. Annie doesn't. Truthy doesn't. None of us say, "Hey, let's fucking dox K. Let's
No.
let's share personal information about her personal life." We actually speak against it. And as a matter of fact, anybody who calls themselves a fan of this channel and then goes and turns around and does some shit like that to Kay, I will have you arrested just as quick as she will. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I don't want anything to
look,
do with you.
doxing's unnecessary. It's not right. Most, a lot of the people that have tried to come out in support of us and have gotten closer to us end up experiencing the impacts of this type of behavior, which is
I mean, there's no
it's completely
reason for it.
uncalled for. But yeah, I
There's
mean, to hear stories about your financial transactions that took place, 5, 6 years ago when people do not understand the context of the situation, I know where that information is coming from. It can only come from one source. So you can't
right.
tell me that the other parties are just being silent through this. No, they're not being silent. They're leaving themselves in the darkness. They're not coming out and showing their faces for what they're willing to say publicly. Okay, and that's the thing. You want to go rumor mill, you want to go talk shit about me and my family. Like, why don't you put your face forward then? Why don't you come
Right.
say it to my face?
Yeah. See,
Because you're not going to.
I don't ever give trolls credit, man. Like ever, unless they're
No, but here's
absolutely
the thing, brother. I
shit.
don't mind the questions. I don't mind the confusion. If people really feel like they need to clarify my character that much in order to make a judgment
Michael,
about the situation,
you have always said that you are open to having a productive
yeah,
dialogue with anyone.
yeah, I don't care. I don't care if you want to talk about it. But it wasn't about this in the first place. It was about my daughter. And my daughter was trying to get help and nobody was listening. So it's
Right.
fine. I'll take the heat. I'll take this shit. But the fact is, the only reason I'm taking it is because of her and because I want them to be safe. Okay, because this isn't necessary. And if this is a standard that we're setting for parents who speak up, like, we need to really reevaluate our moral character as a country, because this is crap. This isn't the way things should work.
Well, the comforting thought, Michael, is that the majority of people are on your side. You've got, I mean, just look at it. You've got Annie doing live streams, and she's got, at one point, 11,000 people in her chat in support. It was and I was on a panel with her, and I was one of her only moderators, if not her only moderator at the time. So nobody was monitoring the chat, pretty much. Maybe I think there was one other person at the time, and everybody was cool, and everybody was cool. And then you have Critical K, who has max 700 people in her chat, max. When she's talking about this case. So the company thought that the majority of people understand the situation, and they support you, and they support Sophie.
And we are humbly grateful for that, because without that support, like, we wouldn't have been able to ensure her safety, get her to a good place. Contrary to popular belief, she actually has been in counseling. She's doing well. Like, she's, there's progress. There are stumbling blocks and hurdles that we face with it. We're doing our best. We're learning through this process too, as parents. And I think that, I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is that as a collective, and as a collective who can maybe agree at some point that the priority is the children, that we're trying to protect kids, like we also need to, like, I guess, stop for a minute and say, hey, like, why is it that this particular situation is being handled like this, right? Why is it that because I spoke up for her, I get to go under this super microscope, when in reality, like, the proof is in the pudding. The evidence shows, even the stuff that's been shared, that there were problems on the other side. You could run every address background check you want to. You're not going to find 911 calls. You're not going to find any of that stuff. And yet, the scrutiny that goes into it. So I find it very strange, because what it tells me is that the opposition is either clearly stating their stance, or they're terribly confused by a mixed narrative that's been circulated in the troll community, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Anyways, I digress. Yeah.
Beast Boy, I mean, you stay silent this entire time. You got anything to add here?
No, I think sometimes you got to listen, man.
No, for sure. Absolutely. I'm not faulting you for listening. I'm praising you for it, but I'm curious as to where you're at right now in your head after hearing everything.
So
He's smoking. Yeah, he's smoking.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm definitely learning a lot that I did not know before. I will say that 100%. There's a lot of things that a lot of people don't know. So I can't see why channels like the Galera are speaking about this right now, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, I get it. Like, and I'm okay with it. Like I said, I'll take that heat if that's what's required. You know, to walk through this fire and get what's necessary. You know, the protection of my kids. But at the same time, I mean, it's been an incredibly tolling experience this last week. I mean, I know that, you know, when I come on here and talk with you, I'm centered. I've spent the time to do that, though. But man, it was a heart-wrenching week, man. It really busted me up, and you know, there's nothing about this that's easy, and you know, I have a lot of mixed feelings about everything that's going on, and I at the end of the day, I just want what's best for the kids. I want them to be safe and secure. I certainly do not come into this with the philosophy that children should not be without their, you know, should be without their parents per se. That is not what I believe at my core. However, I know that there are circumstances that arise when, to protect a child, that needs to happen, at least for a time, until something's resolved. And I just you know, that I feel like there could be some really basic logic applied to these situations, and for me, it hasn't been in this. So I don't know. I'm still processing a lot of feelings about it all.
Yeah. Michael,
not to be downer. We can talk about other things if you want. But
no. I mean, this is the elephant in the room right now. You know, I'm glad I went live tonight. I almost didn't. And you know, I've got a different situation going on here, as you can see. But you know, it was an equipment thing and everything, and then it was like, oh, okay, problem solved. Like it was like a Christmas miracle, and I was able to go live.
Nice. My birthday's Christmas Eve, dude. I turned 42.
Dude,
okay,
I love.
Here it comes.
I love it. I love it. I you know, this, you know, I want to be completely honest with you here, Michael.
No, lie to me, Will. Please just lie to me. I'm just kidding.
Well, you know, this case, having this channel, and you know, it's provided me with some purpose. Meeting other creators like BXBeastBoy and the other 5 or even 6 that we're planning on doing very, very important things with. First time in my life, I really feel like I'm doing something with purpose.
It's amazing, dude. That's a big deal.
I want to express my gratitude for that. And that's you know, it's making me proud to fight for you. I want to put everything out there that I know. I want to put everything out there. I just got to understand it better, but I want to put it all out there. And I think that that's actually going to be what is going to get the right attention. some outside source of justice is going to intervene in this. They have to. And the way to do that is to get the attention and put it out there. And I know I've only got 4,000 subs, whatever, but I'm going to do what I can, and I know that I have 5 other creators that are going to help. So because I think
look, Will, I think that look, I mean, there's been some people that have been like, why are you and Will talking? What's the connection there? I was like, no, I mean, I don't think they understand, but I think, without disclosing your personal background, but you and I have both dealt with challenging situations in our lives that have similarities, and I think that we connected on that level. And I appreciate that you do have a very particular perspective on all this, and you seem like, at the end of the day, a righteous individual that's pursuing truth, and I appreciate that. So I really humble gratitude for you helping spread the word, and at least for objective truth to reign here. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I believe Sophie, man. I just do.
I do too. And that's the thing. I trust my daughter. I believe my daughter, and I don't have a reason to this day to doubt her. So
I think that's what we have in common. Is the fact that at the end of the day, when you want to just cut it simply, you being her father, sure, that's absolutely a major factor. But what we have in common is that we just both believe Sophie. And a lot of people do, and you did a hell of a thing by making that video and posting it, because this, what I would say to your critics as far as making the video and making it so public, what I would say to that is, obviously what we've gone over in this live stream, where you went over for the millionth time as to why your reasons for doing it were, but you, in my personal opinion, what it did was shine a light on a much bigger situation. Sophie is a beautiful, amazing little girl who's absolutely strong, and she became a voice for other victims. I've had grown-up victims that were inspired by Sophie come on this channel and share their stories. Grown-up victims that were inspired by so many people. That were inspired by Sophie doing what she did. So
it's inspiring, dude.
And I'm proud of that. I'm very proud of that. That is something that I'm that made me go, okay, I'm going full throttle with this.
Well, if you knew how many stories I've heard of women and men who have sat in the darkness for 20, 30 years and never felt empowered to step out of this state of victimhood, move into a stance of survivorship, and then even just transcend right up into championing for something that's bigger, something we can collectively do together, work on together. It has been awe-inspiring and beautiful, because a lot of these voices have never been heard from before, and they're really strong people, man. They have endured something very difficult early on in their life, and this was a moment for them, for some reason, to move past it all. And you know what, dude? At the end of the day, that is healing. That brought at least something good to this world. They don't have to hide. You don't have to hide. And there needs to be a safe environment for people to talk about this together and really heal, and then move forward and try to solve this on a larger scale, because this is a problem, man. These are our babies. We got to do something for them.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I'm at right now. You've got right now this thing that I'm really excited about is this collaboration with other creators, and what we're focused on right now is the future of the future. It's just the future. Our kids, like Whitney Houston said, the children are our future, and they deserve a fair shot. They deserve to get through it and be supported, not exploited. They need to be lifted. They need to be praised. This is the future of our planet.
Yeah. Can you sing it too? Because I'd love to hear your singing voice, dude. Grab the guitar. Let's do this.
Our planet deserves
I'm just playing with you.
people that love to be on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And you know, like to the earlier point too, I think that there's so many opportunities for us to find differences nowadays, whether that be politics, religion, racial divides, socioeconomic statuses. Like all these things can cause for us to find reasons why we are different. But at the end of the day, we're all human beings, and they're like it's possible for us to, instead of focusing our efforts, energies, and mental attentions towards the things that make us different, we could say, hey, what are those things that actually we can agree on? Like, what can we say that we can all get behind? And if we start doing more of that in this world, I think that there's going to be less focus on why we're different, more focus on what we can go to do to change things for the better. And that's just the way, maybe that's just a naive philosophy of mine, but I feel like that is a more productive stance to take together, instead of continuing this cycle of just hating on each other and finding reasons. And look, I mean, we all got to forgive. We've all probably done dumb things along the way, but like we can move past this. We don't have to live in a society where we all are angry at each other. Like, let's find good things about the world, and let's find the problems that we can agree on and do something about it now.
Right. The case has your daughter's outcries have inspired all of this, and right now, like, and I said it before, man. I'm telling you, I will fast like fucking Gandhi if I have to, in order to get a
probably fast too.
To get a thorough investigation done.
Yeah.
To get this little girl justice. I mean, whatever. I you know what I'm saying? I'm not even I believe Sophie, but I'm saying people who don't believe Sophie should fucking be pushing for this, is what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying?
Proper, objective. Like we live in a country. Yeah. I don't get this. This is a fun. Okay, so this boggles my mind, right? So, Mr. Knight, you're in Honduras, right? The funding for police is not as substantial as what we have here in the United States. We have the ability to perform objective investigations. We have processes and procedures that are in place to do these things correctly and right. Now, I'm sure that the paperwork is all checked in the right spot, but when you look at the details of the way things are carried out and the way things are done, before you know it, you realize that these networks that exist between people probably influence the way that things are performed. Yeah. And, I guess my biggest concern is that if this is happening with our situation, which is public, what the hell is happening with all the ones that never get any publicity at all?
Exactly.
Because, look, challenges when you go through issues with families and all that stuff are, it's one thing to have difficulties communicating with somebody who you eventually divorce with. Let's face it, there's a reason y'all divorced. Like, that happens. I get it. And everybody should work towards communicating. But when you face in a situation that, like this, I mean, it just gets exponentially more complex. And it's not like you can reach out and say, hey, so I'm hearing that this is going on with the kids. Is this going on? You think you're going to get an honest answer?
Right.
Like, no, of course you're not. Right. So you have to trust the children. You have to listen to what they're saying. And I'll say this again. I've said it before. I'm not claiming that I'm some perfect father. Like, I think every father learns how to be a father as they go.
Oh yeah, I'm a dick.
It's not.
There's no hand for it.
Well, no, I'm not saying I don't think I'm a terrible father. I'm doing my best, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that what has happened is that because the criminal aspect of what's going on, the reason for why this was brought forward just seems to have faded off into the distance, even though there's a ton of questions that still exist. It's all reliant on the civil system, which handles things very differently. And it's a lot more of, oh, well, who makes more money? Who lives in a bigger house? Who is, that's not what this was about. I just want to make sure that they sleep safely at night. Like, seriously. That's
right. Like, that's the whole thing. Is I remember when I was going through this with my ex, and he was abused. It wasn't SA, but he was abused. And the whole thing was, that's all I care about. I just want him to be safe. I just want him to be okay. I don't, and I didn't know how to be a full-time dad. She would use him as a weapon against me, and I also made bad decisions, and I should have made better decisions in order to be able to have fought her for it. But the thing was, is I thought that he was safe with her.
Yeah,
I
you don't
never
prepare for that situation like that.
Right. I thought he was safe with her. That's what it boiled down to. That was completion on my end. But I mean, should I have not thought that my son was safe with his mother? And then I find out, and I'm like, fuck, and I had to act.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was on a flight the next day. And
it's not something that you woke up in that day and were like, you know what, today I want to get in a big conflict with my ex over our kids.
Today's a good day
Nobody
to feel
wants
shitty.
that. God, no.
When the judge awarded me custody, he ordered her to pay child support, right?
Yeah.
This is a fact. He ordered her to pay me child support. Now, I had to pay back child support prior to that, right? I was ordered in Florida to pay back child support, right? But in Georgia, when I won custody of my son, the judge ordered her to pay me child support. So that should have canceled that out to a certain degree, right? And I don't even, I still get money taken out of my check for back child support because it's worth it. It's worth it. It's perfectly fine. You know what I mean? The fact is, I wasn't there. I wanted to be, but I wasn't. But so I have to pay back child support. That's just how it is. It's what a man does. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's like I could fight it because she was ordered to pay me child support. But it's not worth it.
The whole child support topic.
Paying her just to keep her out of my life.
The child support topic gets real complicated in this country too. I mean, there's a lot of mechanisms in place. There's different government organizations making money off of that, and the penalties for somebody who, let's say, this is a common scenario. I've met a few people who've gone through this where they're making incredibly good money working in the oil fields here in Texas, and they go through a situation because they're gone a lot, right? I mean, they're working their tails off during the high seasons, and making $150 a year, and all of a sudden their wife ends up sleeping with some other dude, or whatever happens, they end up splitting up, and then they calculate their child support based on when things were going really well in the oil field. And suddenly they got to pay 40% of their income towards that child support. But then let's say the oil business tapers off, but their skill set really only applies to that type of work. Now they're in a terrible situation where they've got to be paying $60,000 a year to their ex, and they can't find work that's paying them more than 30. And so you got to go in and try to get the adjustment, but some of them don't get it in time because that stuff adds up real quick when suddenly the income flow changes. And man, I mean, I've talked to people who've ended up in jail over this, who've they've lost their licenses, registrations, their vehicles. It's like it makes your life really hard to get it all kind of up to speed. And
I mean, the bottom line is a man should pay child support. It doesn't even matter what the situation is. You know what I'm saying? Like if you have a child, you got to support your kid.
That goes both ways, though. So if a man gets custody of the kid, there should be no excuses to the woman.
Agree. No. I completely agree with you. Now, but the thing is sometimes that person is just so fucking poisonous that it's like, okay, I have enough. I'm doing enough.
I've heard that a lot of times too.
And fight this person in court over a few measly dollars. You know what I'm saying? I'm just not going to do that. And that's where I was just like, it's fine.
That gets real complicated real fast.
I have a very low income. I live extremely modestly. And right now I have a very low income and I still get that child support taken out of my check every time.
Yeah.
and it's
So I was,
and it's still worth it.
yeah, no, I mean, we could probably go down 20 rabbit holes on this one. But, no,
Right.
I wanted to bring up, I think the second point was, I'm really curious. This work in Honduras, right? So we have immigration is a topic, right? In the United States, we have people,
Yes.
coming up to the U.S. and you have one of the things that I've read about, because I've had to educate myself quickly on what's going on with all this stuff, given our situation, and I can privately, I'll fill you in on more of it if you'd like. But one of the things I kept reading about, because I took a particular interest in Latin America in college, was that you have a lot of children actually that are being trafficked up to the U.S. and that this is part of the problem. I mean, is this stuff that you guys are seeing down there?
Yeah. Basically, a lot of reasons that kids are getting shipped to the States. Number one is because of violence. Number two is because of the poverty and necessity. But the other hidden secret part that people don't see from up there that's happening down here, Mexico, Guatemala, and El Salvador, and all those areas, you have these people called coyotes, right? And you have the cartel, and you have MS-13, and you have Wandel, and all these other gangs. What they'll do is they'll say, okay, we're going to take and help your kid go to the States because you guys need the help, right? But once he gets there and he starts, if he's 13, 14, once he becomes age appropriate to work, they'll go back to the household and say, okay, you paid us $10,000 to get there, 10,000 American dollars, by the way, which is an astronomical amount for people down here. That's like trying to ask somebody in the States to get $20 million, up here. If I tell you I need $20 million, or, you're going to live in poverty forever, you're not going to be able to get that. That's pretty much what these people, $10,000 is a lot. So they got to beg for money from their families in the States or they'll get a loan from another gang. And it's just a clusterfuck of a situation. So as soon as they get up here and, they know that the kid's 14 and in 2 years he'll turn 16 so he can start working at McDonald's or Walmart or wherever, they'll go back to the family and say, look, you need to tell your son to start sending us 20% of his check. If not, we're going to end your life. And then if in the next month we don't get another check, we're going to end your husband's life, and then your daughter, and this, and so on and so on. So you've got people that are living in the States that are indirectly in servitude to these gangs down there that have sent them up there, 2 or 3 years prior. And a lot of people don't see that or even know that's something that's going on. That is a huge situation down here. So it goes a lot deeper than people just wanting to go get a job,
I've heard about this. There was this concept, I think it was talked on, Joe Rogan talked about it with this guy. It's a really interesting series of interviews with a guy who went and did it's like special forces in Mexico somehow, and he ended up going back and he was talking about the campaigns that were going on, this hearts and minds campaigns, essentially, I believe is how he referred to it. But other cartels are going in and they're, it's kind of hard it's one of these situations where the local communities don't necessarily, have conflict with the cartels, because the cartels are coming in and they're actually improving the town's livelihood and their well-being. They're, sending their kids to get educated, but there is a dependency system that's established there too. So yeah, of course.
And that's one of the things too, is like you'll get a lot of these cartels that come up here and they'll go to these impoverished areas and they'll turn them into beautiful little towns. It went from a village to a town, but you see everything beautiful, but then once you go deeper, you see all the mud that's holding it all together, all the bullshit that's holding it all together. And it's really hard to combat when everyone's either scared or they're living in a complacent manner. It's really hard, man. Sometimes you feel like you're spinning your fucking wheels.
Yeah, well, you're trying to protect kids, man. I guess that's the end of
and that's doing. Yeah, and that's when I think I was telling, I don't remember who else. It was either Miss Magoo or the Glare. I was like, that to me, there is no limit to what you should do to protect the child.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
You understand what I'm saying? I know that's kind of drastic. I'm a drastic individual, like
I am
BX said.
too.
I'm always trying to punch somebody, and it's true. I am. I'm not gonna lie. He's right. I'm a very high strung individual. I'm very passionate. I'm very understanding, loving, but I'm also pretty fucking violent.
I mean, when it comes to this issue, man, like
Yeah.
that's not a character flaw in the slightest bit. I believe it's necessary. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got to be. I mean,
You got to know when to shut it off, though, and I don't know how to do that.
sure.
Okay. I was hoping somebody would say
I'm just now learning.
I said it. Yeah.
okay.
I recognize it. I recognize it.
I'm just now learning to myself to shut it off. But I tell you, man, it's crazy. Like that's why I named this shit guanosis, man. Batshit crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that means. Because the fucking whole internet right now is going fucking nuts, right? You know, the shit that's happening to Annie right now is completely and totally uncalled for.
Yeah,
it's completely and totally. It's unfounded. It's terrible.
Can somebody tell me what that is? Because I've been getting emails about that all day.
Somebody put up a fake page, a fake Facebook page of Annie 10 to Life, and then you click on it, and there's these really awful statements, these awful captions with pictures of her kid. And it's really fucked up. Yeah, it's really fucked up. And I know who's behind it, and I'm gonna prove it. And when I prove it, it's gonna be really, really fucking ugly. Because I don't have patience for that. I don't abide by that shit in the slightest bit. And I'm pissed about it. And that's only one of the things that's happening to her right now. And we're on it. Truthy's on it. I'm on it.
We're looking into it too, man.
Yeah. This is not. Yeah. I mean, dude. And if Courtney's on it, forget it.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, she's all over it, dude.
Yeah, you're fucked. Whoever did shit.
My wife is one of the most brilliant researchers I've ever met. Yeah, she's great.
Yo, whoever did that shit, I'm looking at you right now. I know you're watching. Whoever did that shit, if Courtney is on this, you're so fucked.
Yeah, you don't want her to even smell you exist. Like she's gonna know your nail polish color in a minute. It's crazy.
I'm telling you, dude. I'm telling you, if she does it, if she decides to do it, I'm telling you, she has all the makings of being the perfect YouTube true crime channel.
The page was taken down.
She would be amazing at it.
The page was taken down.
I don't know. If you message me privately, I can show you, or I can send you screenshots of what was going on with Annie. But there's this, I don't know. We have some real questions about this activity because it almost seems like these people are so dedicated that they're compensated. Which is, if that's the case, then there's a bigger issue here.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I know that there was a PR company hired in our situation to go against us.
I remember that.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of a.
Because it's fair to say. Let's face it, right? I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. If Kelly is directly in contact with Critical K, right? If she's in direct contact with Critical K, and Kelly has a PR firm under her employ, well, I mean, is it really crazy to put all those dots together? Is it? You know what I mean?
Is it crazy to do what?
Well, think about it.
To connect those dots, yeah.
Yeah, to connect those dots. Like if
no, it's not.
Because I happen to know that Critical K is behind a lot of the harassment towards Annie. I know it.
Well, she says openly that she's in communication with Kelly. So if that's not the case, and if she's not, and she has stated publicly that
would be her
contact with her, and that she condones what she's doing, then that also means that she condones the poor characterization of her daughter online. I think that there's some questions that should be answered here.
I agree.
Yeah, just because you don't show your face doesn't mean you don't actively participate.
I actually find it hard to believe that Kelly is in contact with Kay under the reason being that because I'm still naive like that. Like I just don't imagine a mother being okay with a woman talking about their own child the way that Critical K talks about her own child, or Critical K talks about Kelly's child. I don't see her being okay with that, much less providing her with information in order to give her content. That doesn't make sense to me. Why would a mother do that? Why would a mother actually feed tearing down her own daughter?
Because the only way to combat what she's saying is to destroy her, essentially. So
discredit and destroy.
Yeah. This game of trying to act like there's compassion. I think. Look, I don't really have to say much. I mean, people can see for themselves what happened in that video. You can see that there have been 2 attempts now to put her in a mental institution over it. What people don't talk about is the fact that Sophie's a straight A student in school. That she's very well adjusted to meeting new people. She's a bright spirit. She is creative and all these things.
She seems happy.
She's doing great right now. Like, she's doing great. I try to respect her process that she needs to go through. Again, I wasn't present in the circumstances that she has described, but I have no reason not to believe her. It's one of these things where,
right? That's the whole thing.
At the end of the day, if you're really trying to say that it didn't happen, if you're trying to say that she's off her rocker and all that stuff, well, then you approach it with care and compassion. You approach it in a loving manner, not by pulling her and tearing her out of a car or demeaning her online. I think Sophie is one of the greatest people I've ever encountered, but she's my own daughter, right? So I should feel that way.
So there's a little bias there.
And of course there is. She's my little girl. I mean,
of course.
But the thing is, when I hear somebody call somebody a fucking brat, or a 9-year-old girl or a 10-year-old girl now, but that can't even defend herself against this grown woman, and discrediting her and tearing her apart, I find to be despicable.
That was disgusting.
Because it's bullying, of course, but it's bullying on a whole nother disgusting level. Because this child, not only are they just a child, but there's no way they could defend themselves. There's absolutely no possible way for that child to defend themselves.
Yeah, they depend on us for that.
Against those attacks. Exactly, Mr. Nutt. They depend on us for that. And that's all I've been doing. That's all Annie's been doing. That's all Truthy's been doing. That's all Josh has been doing.
Honestly, I'm giving you my straight up feedback. I don't think she could handle Sophie.
No,
I think Sophie would take her to task. And if she were to actually tell her what her experiences have been and her own story, I think she would shut down quickly. Because you're right. I mean, she leaves her in an almost impossible position, but I hope she doesn't forget someday she'll be old enough to defend herself publicly. And when she is, I'm sure she will.
And that's what I say. Like, the spirit that I saw in the kid in that video, that tells me that she's the kind of kid that is going to she's going to look at the support she's getting, not the ostracization that she's getting.
Wow.
She's going to look at the support. She's going to look at the inspiration that she's provided. And she's going to see that as a positive thing and use that to get over her own and take control of her own demons. That unfortunately she's cursed with these demons for the rest of her life. That's just how that is. That's what these predators do. They destroy your innocence, and they leave you with demons that you have to manage for the rest of your life. And she's going to use this, I believe, as inspiration to manage those demons moving forward. And not only that, I believe that she's going to continue to inspire people to manage those demons as an adult, as an effective, educated young woman one day.
Yeah, I think that, and I've caught a lot of hell over this, but even looking back and BXBeastBoy bringing up would I have done it different and all that. Oh man, I guess there's a lot of contemplation whether I would have or wouldn't have, but at the end of the day, I think one you just brought up recently, I mean, the problem with this larger situation is that it's done in the shadows. It is kept in the dark. It is in sealed case records. It is in, situations that people feel uncomfortable discussing. And until we can move past that far enough to say, you know what, we're going to discuss this. It's
Right.
going to be brought to light. We need to talk about it as a collective and deal with it. Until we actually do that and quit shaming people for having gone through it, we're never going to make progress.
Absolutely.
And it's not only a necessity. I feel like it's our
100%
social responsibility.
It's a responsibility. I completely agree. I believe that right now, this collaboration that Mr. Nutt, myself, Josh, Truthy, and Illuminacy were and I believe Annie's on board. Where that's the idea, is to shine light on this, make it something that we need to see as a responsibility to acknowledge as a problem in our society. And the way to do that is to discuss it, to spread the word, to create awareness. And this, unfortunately, I mean, your little girl is a martyr in this, but she's also an inspiration, and she sacrificed her, I don't even know how to word that, but she's
her self innocence, man. She just put herself out there for all to see, pretty much, and was like,
privacy.
you know what, this is, and her privacy, and for a child to make a decision like that, it's fucking huge, man.
Yeah.
And I know they don't really understand the ramifications of what may or may not come in the future. But I think when you're dealing with something so severe, you kind of have to let them take the reins as far as, what's.
So many people have come forward. So many people. Dude, just Mrs. Magoo telling her story. That's something that is going to haunt me for as long as I am alive, is knowing Mrs. Magoo's story. But something that I'm going to see as a blessing is the fact that, she was inspired. She saw strength in Sophie, and she thought, I need to tell my story. So, and it was the fact that Sophie stood up and screamed and yelled, and nobody was listening until we listened. That's what happened. Somebody's going to have to hear this child, and so when the people who are assigned, who are paid, our taxes go to people who are paid to look out for her best interest, don't do so, well, the people speak up. And it's like Jamie said on Annie's live when you were on there, your attorney Jamie, she said these things change in our systems because the people demand it. So us being loud and coming together and being loud about this is how change is going to happen. We have to believe that, and we have to stand firmly doing so. It's just how that has to be.
One of the funny things is, it's not funny, but it's a sad truth, is here they take those crimes way more seriously and they act on them so much more swifter than they do up there.
Right.
And I live in, and this is a third world country where you figure that it would be overlooked a little bit more.
Well, that tells you that there are powerful people. I mean, I've already done 2 different live streams on 2 very powerful, probably top 1% people that are busted trafficking children. And so what's happening is this is a good thing in the sense that the mainstream media is catching on to this. The louder we get about it, the more the mainstream media is going to take interest in it. And that's a brighter light being shined in those dark places where they don't want to be seen.
Yeah.
So it's really important. That's why it starts with us sharing these videos. That's why it starts with us getting together, creators like all of us getting together and talking about this, to give the voiceless a voice. And that is the weapon. That's the weapon against them, because they use silence as their shield. These predators use silence as their shield.
And shame, by the way, I want to throw that out there. Shame is a very, very powerful motivation from not a psychologist, but from a psychological perspective. Shame is a motivating emotion. People don't want to experience it, yet in these situations, unfortunately, shame is applied. This is a lot of the pushback I've gotten from kind of within the legal system itself about, well, how could you have done this? I mean, what's her life going to be like in 20 years? How's she going to get a job or a boyfriend? And I'm sitting back saying, well, I'm a bit more concerned right now about what happens in a year from now or 2 years from now if she ends up back in a bad situation. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But the second part of this, we don't lead this conversation with shame with her. There's no reason for her to feel shame. She should feel proud of herself. She has stood up for herself, and she has demanded that she be safe. And damn it, like there's no way, shape, or form that I'm gonna ever make her feel lesser because she's gone through difficult circumstances in the past. It's just not right. So I think the tone of this conversation needs to go from shame to courage to probably some anger, and moving into we'll solve this. So we fix this.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Guys, it's going past 4 hours. I think I'm going to call it.
We're not doing the sunrise edition here. What's the deal, man?
No, I'm not doing that.
Well, I just want to know what Beast Boy is thinking, because he's so quiet and just like he's taking a lot in at this point.
Yeah, I would love to hear some closing statements.
Yeah, there's a lot I know in this stream that he didn't know about. Everybody on the panel. I would be definitely interested to hear what he's got to say.
My opinion remains the same. I think that is information that I didn't know, and I still don't know a lot of information. I do believe that an investigation needs to happen immediately, if that's what you want to hear. I agree with that 100%. I don't understand why an investigation is not going on.
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah. But I don't want to hear anything in particular. I just want
just pick your brain and hear what your side of what you're thinking. I don't want. Yeah, I'm not trying to.
There's nothing I'm hoping to hear.
It doesn't have to be about the
case. It's really that simple. I will be honest. Is when it comes to what we just spoke about. Oh, you mean everything we just spoke about as a whole?
Yeah, it doesn't.
Family, and everything.
Just
as far as I just spoke about the whole case thing. As far as everything else. What y'all doing is good. I think some of the tactics can be done better, but it's not up for me to decide, in all honesty, as long as the fight's happening.